As historians have struggled to come to grips with another watershed period in history, the 1960s, a similar sort of reunion has taken place. In making peace with the 60s, that reconciliation notably has been at the expense of our understanding of the Black Power movement and how it contributed to various changes in American society, including the expansion of American democracy. In the pages of the Journal of American History, Dr. Jacqueline Dowd Hall laid out the central problems associated with such a reconciliation. By confining the civil rights struggle to the South, to a single halcyon decade, and to limited non-economic objectives, the master narrative, she wrote, simultaneously elevates and diminishes the movement. It ensures the status of the classical phase as a triumphant movement in a larger American progress narrative, yet it undermines its gravitas. It prevents one of the most remarkable mass movements in American history from speaking effectively to the challenges of our time. Often lost in the narrative of the movement commonly advanced are those, in the memorable spirit of Dr. King, struggling from a chronic feeling of nobodiness. This is, of course, obvious in the works of historians such as Rhonda Williams, who chronicles poor Black welfare activists in Baltimore and their poignant testimony to the struggle. In Waiting Till the Midnight Hour, Dr. Joseph illustrates one of the ways to ensure a far more complex and by extensive useful narrative by carefully examining the parallel movement spawned by the broad range of students, intellectuals, poets, artists, and politicians, who he argues transformed the term Black Power into a generational touchstone that evoked hope, anger, despair, and determination. I'm over time.
No, you're not.
I'm not? Am I good?
Fine, I was just shifting around. You have 5 minutes.
I love you, Dr. Gilmore. Thank you. Proposals and everything. In Waiting Till the Midnight Hour, Dr. Joseph illustrates one of the ways to ensure a far more complex and by extension useful narrative by carefully examining the parallel movement spawned by that broad range of students and organic intellectuals. To be sure, this mode of inquiry did not begin with Joseph. Well before the publication of his seminal article in the Black Scholar, elements of this new scholarship were beginning to appear in the literature. But it was Joseph's article and subsequent work in the field that has fleshed out the parameters of a new Black Power studies, simultaneously creating a much-needed intellectual space to explore and debate the Black Power movement, both as a corrective to the declension narrative of the 1960s and in its own right as a vibrant and independent movement. Through a careful examination of the literature, along with significant archival research and oral research interviews, Joseph continues to compile testimony of the movement much in the same way that civil rights scholars, such as Charles Payne, John Dittmer, Emily Crosby, and Hassan Jeffries have done, through their extensive and imaginative use of oral history interviews, scholarly but also artfully blending testimony that has broadened and deepened our understanding of American democracy. At the same time, in Black Power studies, equally creative uses of testimony, as by Rhonda Williams, Glenda Gilmore, Heather Thompson, Robert Self, Kamosi Woodard, Kit Germany, and Kimberly Springer, to name a few, are transforming our understanding of Black liberation struggles from coast to coast. In the short time I have left, I'd like to focus on the 4 concrete ways which I believe Dr. Joseph's work have richly impacted this scholarship. The first and most obvious is nomenclature. One of the sticking points, even for Black Power activists themselves, was what to call their movement, but also how to distinguish it from civil rights. Joseph himself has been very clear, admonishing scholars to avoid the trap of defining everything that does not look quite like civil rights as Black Power. There were militant advocates for civil rights and moderate voices in support of Black Power. Waiting Till the Midnight Hour, at the very least, provides a framework for analyzing the genetic profile of Black Power and uncovering its progeny in a diverse collection of artists, poets, activists, scholars, ex-soldiers, and organic intellectuals who answered its call. Joseph's insistence on understanding the Black Power movement as one that was local, national, and international is equally important. Actually, I'm going to cut part of this, but I want to say I much prefer the comment that we just got from Dr. Gilmore about how to conceptualize that more broadly. But again, it's Dr. Joseph that contributes that language, and for me that is quite important. The next area where I believe Joseph has been most influential is in the realm of Black expressive culture. Although we owe much to scholars like William Vanderburg and James Smethurst for fleshing out these aspects of the movement, Joseph again provides an important framework for showing how music, art, and dance played a key part in transmitting the political culture of the movement. It not only helped to redefine or define a generation, but there were local particularities as well, the fruits of which we still see in art forms such as hip-hop today. Finally, Joseph helps us appreciate the ways in which both movements pushed the boundaries of American democracy. By repositioning such well-known historical actors as William Worthy, Maya Angelou, Lorraine Hansberry, Joseph provides us with an important lens with which to view and appreciate their influence in other arenas. For those in the discipline of Black studies, which Joseph argues grew out of the Black Power movement, this is also important. African Americans were central to this struggle in ways that cannot be denied, and yet their dreams were not all the same. Joseph provides a genealogy of the movement to showing Langston Hughes in Harlem, engaging young writers and activists in support of his argument, that it might be useful of thinking or constructing a paradigm of a long Black Power movement as well. Lorraine Hansberry, whom Joseph positions as a forerunner and bridge to the Black Power movement, illustrates as much in her characters in A Raisin in the Sun, each with competing dreams. Walter Lee Younger, a dream of middle-class respectability, complete with a gardener named Jefferson, a house in the suburbs, and a college-bound son. Testament to the important work being done on women in both movements, it was Walter's younger sister, Benitha, with dreams of being a doctor, perhaps moving to the continent of Africa, and using her education in the service of her people broadly defined, that betrays the fingerprints of the Black Power movement described by Joseph. In this sense, Joseph's work illustrates all the complexity Patrick Jones urges, which should occur when we come face to face with, quote, a varied phenomenon replete with insolvable paradoxes and contradictions. That we know that in creating such dialogues from competing testimonies, we produce a richer, a more complex, and a much more usable history. Thank you.